Today, I feel called to talk to the human challenge of overthinking and what we can do to rebalance our overthinking tendencies. So, why do human beings have such a tendency to think excessively, to overthink? And I think it starts for us all very, very early in life. And there are two levels of programming that really start this process of moving us into our minds from a very early age. Even though the analytical mind doesn't really start to develop or form until we hit beta brainwave frequency around the age of 7 and beyond. But as far as the way our programming is pushing us towards the mind, I would say that the programming is starting very early. And so one factor to take into account is the fact that we have an experience as a human being from the outset of being separate to each other. That our five senses are telling us that you watching this video and me sitting here recording it are clearly separate. We're not the same. There's differences in time and space from you to me. And so right from the outset, there's this sense that, okay, I've got to make things happen here for myself, on my own, because I'm here in this body, in this consciousness, doing it alone. I'm separate. I'm not connected and part of everything, literally. Whereas when we start to look at what's really going on and explore what the truth of our existence is, that we are actually intimately connected in a quantum field, a unified field, then that falls away. And this idea of separation can drop away, but we can only come to understand that much later on in life, usually after we've gone through our own personal explorations and experiences of connectedness. So when we're young, unless we have some very enlightened parents guiding us into understanding that the five senses aren't really reflecting what's going on, we have a sense that we're separate. And our programming and the way we're raised reinforces that even further as we move towards schooling. Again, Western society I'm mostly referring to here, but I think any culture or society that promotes the idea that we need to start to acquire information and learn at a certain age. In the Western world, it mostly starts at the age of 5, but certainly by the age of 7, when this beta brainwave activity is starting to come online, we are being reinforced around this idea that that learning and remembering and gathering information is going to be of vital importance to us succeeding in life, in the world. And so again, our programming at this crucial juncture is pushing us towards the mind, towards thoughts. And we gradually start to be encouraged away from the more imaginary or creative pursuits, not completely necessarily. If we have talents in arts or music, etc., we can be encouraged in those talents. But as far as accessing our information from the world or our guidance with how to operate in the world or proceed in the world, it is encouraged that we come up with those answers in thoughts, through figuring things out, through problem solving, through analysing, not necessarily through intuition. Again, unless you have parents that are very tuned in and guiding you into intuition from a very young age. But unfortunately for a lot of us, that doesn't happen. And so again, this promotion of thought being the be all and end all of using logic as our way to progress in life is promoted, and it only increases the further we go into our adolescent years and moving into careers and partnering with another human, that we tend to rely on this mind, this problem-solving and analytical tendency to come up with the answers of how our life should look and how it should progress. And so this reinforcement that logic, analysis, planning, etc. is key and necessary to have a successful life is just intensified. So there's little wonder that we end up so much in our thoughts. So many of us having this challenge of what we define as overthinking. And then maybe we come to a stage in our life when we realize that that's happening for us, and we think, okay, maybe I'll take up meditation. That seems to be good for the mind and the soul. And sure enough, many of us who have gone down that path will be faced with this overly active mind that makes it very challenging to even stay focused on a few breaths, let alone maintain that state over an extended period. And then maybe we get tempted to give up on processes like meditating because the mind is just not seeming to work with us in that process. And I can certainly speak from personal experience here. I hope you've gathered that already. I have had very strong tendencies to lean on my mind and use thinking as my guiding force. It's served me well in my career, I guess, in a lot of ways. Psychology does lean on the analytical mind in many ways. However, I also see the limits in that, and as I've sought to evolve myself, I've been very much dedicated to bringing the balance whereby my analytical mind and my intuitive self, or my intuitive subconscious, can work together and guide me most effectively, rather than relying so heavily on thoughts, or the balance of head and heart, as some might put it, or head and gut. And so I've had plenty of opportunities to explore how my overthinking works. And for me, I've figured out that there's two key elements of my overthinking that are driven by parts and unconscious programming that I took on early in life. One being around some worst case scenario or some what if type of thinking, a part of me that likes to look ahead and anticipate potentially what could go wrong, not excessively. I'm not a worrywart in excessive terms, but certainly have noticed my mind still doing some of that what ifing. So that's one part of my overthinking tendency. And then another being the planner, the part of me that just seeks to always be looking ahead to the next thing. And a lot of the times my planner is quite positive, quite optimistic, likes to go looking for the next fun thing, the next break or holiday or fun activity to engage in. And that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's great to have a part of me that does that. However, if I'm choosing to sit and engage in a process of inner quiet, and hoping to find some inner stillness, then that part can obviously get in the way somewhat. I want to come back to the fact that I do not curse that part of me, and the exercise that I'd like to take you all through, if you'd be willing to participate, hopefully will illustrate why me trying to push that part of me away and deny it, or as some people refer to in meditation circles, tame the monkey mind and calm it down, I think can send a message that that part needs to just be put in its place through force. And I certainly would not encourage that as necessarily the best way to move forward if you're seeking to work with a overthinking tendency, whether it be worry, whether it be planning, whether it be rehashing the past, replaying things, replaying interactions with other people, looking for ways that you are concerned you may have made a mistake or upset someone. There are many different varieties of what people will refer to as overthinking. And the exercise I'd like to take you through, I think, can help any brand of that or any type of that type of overthinking, and get you to understand yourself a bit better when it comes to these tendencies. And even if you don't identify yourself as a seriously major overthinker, as some would define themselves, I think you might find benefit in this exercise, particularly if you haven't had much experience with parts work. And even if you have, maybe you'll join me anyway. So for this exercise, I'd like to invite you to shut your eyes, as I will do, and guide you through. And to just start by taking a few breaths and coming into an observing state. A state of simply witnessing your breath or your body in the position that you're in. And becoming aware that you are the noticer. There's a you that's neutrally and curiously noticing. And perhaps already you've got some thoughts popping in, and that's okay, because we're going to give them our attention. But if for now you're simply observing your breath or your body or my voice, I now invite you to take yourself in your mind to a situation that feels unresolved. Maybe it is something you haven't figured out coming up in the future. Maybe it's something from your past. It could be something that you're looking forward to. It could be something unpleasant that you wish to use as your focal point, but just to stimulate a thinking element in this exercise. And I invite you to become aware of where the thoughts that you're having around this particular issue are located. Where you sense they are located. Perhaps they feel like they're just in the middle of your skull, or towards the front, the back, the top. They may feel like they're coming from a different position, your throat, your chest, out in front of you, not even inside of you. There's no right or wrong. There may be words, or there may be pictures. There may be both. And rather than try to push those thoughts away or come back to the breath or some other neutral stimuli, I invite you to be curious about these words and images playing out. To notice them, to give them the spotlight, give them your full attention. If they're words, let that part speak to you. If they're images, let the little mind movies play out. And perhaps you can notice a theme. Perhaps you're noticing that it is about regret or worry or planning. But if it's not easy to tell whether there's a theme or a pattern, that's okay also. Do your best just to remain curious, neutral and curious. I notice that my part that seeks the plan feels like it comes from the middle of my skull and speaks in words. And occasionally vague images pop up towards the front, more like they're out in front of my eyes. And I invite you to actually ask this part that's generating these words or pictures what its job is. Curiously ask it, what's its purpose? And allow the answer to come to you organically. Try not to force the answer. Allow that part to answer. The answer may come again in words or pictures. Or just a knowing. For me, my planner part is there to ensure that I get everything done, that I get to have enjoyable experiences and productive experiences. And I also invite you to ask this part of yourself what it fears would happen if it didn't do its job. If it weren't to plan or replay the past or worry, what it fears would happen. My planner part worries that I'm going to run out of time and not get everything done that needs to be done. It's protecting me from missing out. My what if part fears being caught off guard, being unprepared for something that I didn't see coming. And as I understand this about myself, I invite you to check how you feel towards that part, that thinking part now, hopefully that you're getting to understand its purpose more deeply, that there's a good intention behind this part of you that likes to think a lot, that is trying to protect you from something. Just like my planner is trying to protect me from missing out. And I feel gratitude for that part, for trying to protect me from that. And I offer it my gratitude right now. And I encourage you to do the same. And just notice what happens. If you have trouble finding gratitude for this part, then it's likely that another part has got involved. Maybe a part that's critical, a part that thinks this one should tone down or calm down or stop doing what it's been doing. And if that has happened for you, then you can ask that part to step back while you hopefully can remain curious and neutral towards the part you started with. If that part is not willing to do that, you may need to come back and connect with the part that's interrupted later on and listen to it and its purpose and why it won't stay back and what its problem is with the original part before it might be willing to settle back and allow you to find the natural gratitude for whatever this overthinking part is, because it is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to help you. And so even if you don't feel completely sure as to what the deeper purpose of the part is from this exercise, you can complete the exercise by just knowing that there's a good intention there. And you can come back and find it later. And start to bring your awareness back to where you are in time and space, tuning into your physical body and your breath, the sounds. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you for participating, and I hope you were able to find the deeper purpose behind the part that you just sought out. Because our mind, our thinking parts, our feeling parts, none of them are trying to make life worse for us. Even if it seems like they are, it's not their intention. And so any type of overthinking, any type of worry, overly excessive mental activity is for a reason. And once you can find that reason and not try and force the overthinking to stop, but find the gratitude like you may have touched on just then, over time you can continue to compassionately coach that overthinking part to play a role for you that works in more of a balanced way, because it is part of your inner team. And when you can access your logical thinking mind in combination with your intuitive heart, you can create an extraordinary life. Thank you.